The oppressive silence of deep space felt heavier than usual as Captain Kaelen's derelict star skipper, the Star Drifter, drifted through the inky blackness. His comms unit, usually a constant chatter of galactic news, hummed with an ominous static. He gambled everything on this deep space salvage run, chasing whispers of an ancient freighter rumored to carry pre-hyperspace relics, a score that could erase his crippling debts and finally free him from the Syndicate's cold grasp. Now, with his life support flickering and power conduits sparking, that gamble felt less like a calculated risk and more like a cosmic joke. A chilling premonition, a prickle on the back of his neck, told him this wasn't just a mechanical failure. "Status report, Star Drifter," Kaelen muttered, his voice raspy, echoing in the confined cockpit. His integrated neural link pulsed, relaying diagnostics directly to his optical implants. The readout was bleak. Primary thrusters offline, auxiliary power failing, and an unknown energy signature rapidly approaching. "Damn it, not now," he cursed, gripping the flight stick, its once sleek surface now grimy with despair. He'd faced down asteroid fields, evaded void leviathans, and outsmarted pirate fleets, but this silent, creeping dread was different. It felt sentient. Suddenly, a massive, obsidian vessel, unlike anything he'd ever seen, materialized out of the darkness, eclipsing the distant starlight. Its hull was a tessellation of dark, angular plates, devoid of any visible ports or windows. No weapon signatures, no communication hails, just an overwhelming, predatory presence. Kaelen's breath hitched. This wasn't a rescue. This was an encounter he wouldn't survive. A tractor beam, cold and impossibly strong, latched onto the Star Drifter, pulling it relentlessly towards the colossal ship. The hull groaned, metal shrieking in protest as the smaller craft was reeled in like a struggling fish. He braced for impact, but instead, the Star Drifter was drawn into a cavernous docking bay, a vast, echoing space that swallowed his ship whole. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor that stretched into the unknown. He knew then, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that his desperate gamble had led him not to salvation, but to something far more profound and terrifying. This was a journey into the heart of an enigma. The oppressive silence in the colossal docking bay was more unnerving than any storm. Kaelen felt the air thicken, heavy with a peculiar, sweet yet metallic scent, like ozone mixed with rare night blooms. Muted light streamed from unseen sources, casting long shadows down the corridor, beckoning him into an incomprehensible maze. He tightened his grip on the blaster at his hip, the cold metal a flimsy comfort. Though he'd seen his share of galactic oddities, this ship, in the way it appeared, felt utterly alien. He felt less like a visitor and more like a specimen, categorized and contained. "Is anyone there?" Kaelen called out, his voice echoing faintly in the vast space. No answer came, only his own reverberating words and a faint, almost imperceptible hum, as if the ship itself was alive, breathing. He moved cautiously down the corridor, each step deliberate, eyes scanning the smooth, featureless walls, devoid of any controls or familiar technology. Everything here was unfamiliar, from the materials that seemed to absorb light to the way energy pulsed through the very air, a low thrumming against his skin. At the end of the passage, an invisible archway shimmered open, revealing a grand, vaulted chamber. A soft emerald green light permeated the space, emanating from the walls and floor, bathing everything in an ethereal glow. In the center of the room, a raised plinth of swirling, dark stone ascended, and upon it, a figure coalesced from the light. Kaelen's breath caught in his throat. She was a humanoid, impossibly tall and slender, her skin a captivating, luminous emerald green, as if sculpted from pure jade. Her form was graceful yet undeniably powerful, hinting at a lithe strength beneath her elegant, form-fitting garments. Her hair, a cascade of deep violet, flowed around a perfectly symmetrical face, framing obsidian eyes that lacked discernible pupils, just a captivating, abyssal black. Her attire consisted of shimmering dark fabrics that clung to her alluring physique, emphasizing every full curve. Ornate, pulsing bioluminescent tattoos, swirling like miniature galaxies, adorned her collarbones and traced down her arms, subtly glowing with an inner fire. No words were spoken, yet her presence alone filled the vast chamber. Kaelen felt an inexplicable pull, an irresistible force drawing him closer. Her obsidian gaze locked onto his, devoid of fear, filled only with an ancient, appraising intensity. "You answered the summons," her voice resonated, not through sound waves, but directly in his mind, a low, melodic thrumming like the voice of the cosmos itself. "I am Lyra. And you, human, are the chosen." Lyra's emerald eyes, deep and unfathomable, held Kaelen captive. He tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat, replaced by a strange heat that pulsed through his veins. Chosen, he finally managed, his voice rough. My ship barely survived a hyperdrive failure. I answered nothing. This is a misunderstanding. Her lips, a darker shade of green than her skin, curved into a slow, knowing smile, revealing tiny, almost imperceptible ridges along her canines. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed gently, mirroring a subtle shift in her expression. Misunderstanding, human, is a construct of limited perception, she countered, her gaze unwavering. My call echoes through the cosmos to those attuned to its frequency. Your ship's distress, your very presence here, is not coincidence. It is resonance. She gestured with a hand, its long, elegant fingers tipped with nails the color of polished obsidian. The crystalline walls of the bay shimmered, and a low, resonant hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to vibrate in his very bones, a profound symphony. You are an unexpected answer, perhaps, but an answer nonetheless. Kaelen felt a surge of frustration. Answer to what? I'm a freight pilot, not some cosmic delivery service for alien royalty. His attempt at sarcasm seemed to amuse her. A soft, melodic chuckle escaped her lips. It was a sound that made the hairs on his arms stand on end, a blend of ancient wisdom and something undeniably primal. Royalty? She repeated, a hint of something akin to predatory amusement in her voice. I am Lyra, Scion of the Verdant Spire, first daughter of the Kathari Council, and my domain is in need of replenishment. Her words hung in the air, weighted with unspoken meaning, filling the vast chamber. Kaelen's analytical mind, usually sharp and quick, struggled to process the implications. Replenishment? What does that even mean? He asked, his guard rising. He dealt with alien royalty before, usually with disastrous results involving diplomatic incidents or misplaced artifacts. She took another step, closing the distance between them. Her unique scent, that blend of ozone and sweet night blossoms, enveloped him completely, heady and intoxicating in the confined space. He found himself inhaling deeply, despite himself, drawn by an invisible current. It means, Lyra began, her voice dropping to a low, intimate murmur that seemed to caress his consciousness, bypassing his ears and settling directly into his thoughts, that my lineage, the very heart of the Kathari, faces a crisis. A genetic blight, slow and insidious, has weakened our succession lines, threatening the purity of our future. The Council decrees that only a being of true strength, a spirit untainted by our waning genetic pool, can reforge our future. You, human, resonate with that strength. Her eyes, now closer, seemed to peer into his very soul, reading his hidden anxieties and his forgotten power, a silent, profound understanding passing between them. This wasn't a choice. It was a declaration, an unyielding truth. Kaelen recoiled slightly, the intensity of her gaze almost physical, like a tangible force pressing against his thoughts. Genetic blight? So, what? You're looking for a stud? The word felt crude, raw, yet it seemed to cut directly to the core of her ethereal pronouncements. Lyra's smile widened, a flash of those tiny pearlescent ridges along her canines. Crude, human, but not entirely inaccurate. We seek a vibrant external genetic contribution. A consort, in your parlance. One who can endure the Kathari trials of worth and, ultimately, become progenitor to the next generation of our pure blood lineage. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with an increased fervor, a captivating, almost hypnotic dance across her emerald skin, reflecting the deep significance of her words. Trials of worth? Kaelen scoffed, crossing his arms over his chest, though his posture felt less defiant and more a futile attempt at composure against the overwhelming presence. The scent of her, that intoxicating blend, seemed to seep into his very pores, clinging to him. What exactly do these trials entail? Because if it involves me becoming some kind of biological incubator for your dying race, you've got the wrong human. His eyes involuntarily dropped to her form, the way her elegant attire clung to her alluring physique, emphasizing the lithe strength and subtle curves of her limbs. A primal part of his brain, unbidden, stirred, an ancient recognition. Lyra's gaze followed his, a subtle shift in her weight emphasizing the sensual, powerful curve of her hips. Her voice dropped again, a silken whisper that seemed to bypass his ears and enter his thoughts directly, echoing in the quiet chamber. The trials are multifaceted, human. They test not only physical prowess, for that is fleeting, but mental fortitude, emotional resilience, and the very resonance of your being. Our ancestors understood that true strength lies beyond mere physicality. in the core of one's spirit. And the ultimate trial is one of profound unity. Her long, elegant fingers, tipped with their obsidian nails, slowly reached out, hovering inches from his arm. The air crackled with a silent, expectant tension, thick with unspoken possibilities. Unity. Kaelen's voice was barely a whisper, a strained sound against the quiet hum of the room. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, a subtle, magnetic heat that drew him in despite his intellect screaming warnings. What kind of unity? He didn't flinch when her fingers finally brushed his skin, a touch feather-light yet incredibly potent, sending a jolt through his arm that bypassed his nerves and went straight to his core. Her emerald skin, surprisingly smooth and cool beneath his touch, seemed to hum with a subtle, living energy. The intricate, swirling bioluminescent tattoos on her arm pulsed gently, drawing his eye, a mesmerizing display. Lyra's obsidian eyes dilated, reflecting the subtle glow of her own skin, becoming dark pools of desire and ancient knowledge. Her breath, surprisingly warm, ghosted across his lips as she leaned in closer, invading his personal space. A unity of purpose, of spirit, and of flesh, human. A complete intertwining, where boundaries dissolve and two become one. It is how our lineage ensures not just survival, but true evolutionary ascension, a path to greatness unseen by others. Her thumb, delicate yet firm, slowly traced the line of his jaw, sending shivers down his spine, a trail of fire. You feel the resonance, don't you? The pull. It is the beginning of the trial, and the prelude to a bond that will transcend all others, binding us across time and space. Kaelen's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic rhythm against the quiet hum of the crystalline chamber. Lyra's touch was like a brand, igniting something deep within him he hadn't known existed, a raw, primal longing. His logic screamed for him to pull away, to demand answers, to escape, but his body, traitorously, leaned into her proximity. A bond, he managed, his voice barely audible, a strangled sound. You're talking about mating? He saw the flicker in her obsidian eyes, a spark of something ancient and knowing, a confirmation that thrilled him. Mating, in your limited understanding, is but a fleeting physical act, Lyra corrected, her voice a low, resonant purr that vibrated through his chest, settling deep within his bones. For the Kathari, it is the culmination of the trials, the merging of essences, a joining that transcends mere biological imperative. It weaves two spirits into an inseparable whole, creating a new, stronger entity. It is how we imbue our progeny with strength, not just of body, but of spirit, ensuring the future of our people. Her fingers, still on his jaw, moved lower, tracing the strong line of his neck, her touch surprisingly delicate yet incredibly possessive. He felt his pulse quicken beneath her touch, a response he couldn't deny. He swallowed hard, his gaze drawn to the intricate, glowing patterns that swirled across her collarbones and down her arms, pulsing with her words, a living tapestry of light. The floral scent, now mingled with a subtle, musky undertone, filled his senses completely, an intoxicating cloud that obliterated all rational thought and clouded his judgment. And what if I refuse this trial? This unity? He asked, though the question felt hollow even to his own ears. The heat radiating from her, the sheer force of her presence, was overwhelming, consuming him. Lyra's smile was slow, captivating, spreading across her lips with an ancient wisdom. Refusal is an outcome the Kathari do not often encounter, human. Not once the resonance has been felt. Not once the summons has been answered, as yours was. Her other hand, surprisingly strong yet gentle, settled on his chest, directly over his pounding heart. Her thumb brushed lightly over his nipple, sending a fresh, potent jolt through him, electrifying his senses. Your heart beats quickly. Is this fear? Or the prelude to acceptance, to the undeniable pull between us? Her body shifted almost imperceptibly, pressing closer, and he became acutely aware of the alluring, powerful curve of her hip against his, a silent invitation. It's called being trapped in a shiny blue box with an alien who thinks I'm her destiny, Kaelen retorted, his voice strained, though a reluctant grin tugged at the corner of his lips. He could feel her soft, warm breath on his face as she leaned in further, her unique facial features, the subtle ridges, the captivating emerald hue, filling his vision, dominating his world. The trials are multifaceted, human. They test not only physical prowess, for that is fleeting, but mental fortitude, emotional resilience, and the very resonance of your being. Our ancestors understood that true strength lies beyond mere physicality, in the core of one's spirit. And the ultimate trial is one of profound unity. Her long, elegant fingers, tipped with their obsidian nails, slowly reached out, hovering inches from his arm. The air crackled with a silent, expectant tension, thick with unspoken possibilities. Unity. Kaelen's voice was barely a whisper, a strained sound against the quiet hum of the room. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, a subtle, magnetic heat that drew him in despite his intellect screaming warnings. What kind of unity? He didn't flinch when her fingers finally brushed his skin, a touch feather-light, yet incredibly potent, sending a jolt through his arm that bypassed his nerves and went straight to his core. Her emerald skin, surprisingly smooth and cool beneath his touch, seemed to hum with a subtle, living energy. The intricate, swirling bioluminescent tattoos on her arm pulsed gently, drawing his eye, a mesmerizing display. Lyra's obsidian eyes dilated, reflecting the subtle glow of her own skin, becoming dark pools of desire and ancient knowledge. Her breath, surprisingly warm, ghosted across his lips as she leaned in closer, invading his personal space. A unity of purpose, of spirit, and of flesh, human. A complete intertwining, where boundaries dissolve and two become one. It is how our lineage ensures not just survival, but true evolutionary ascension, a path to greatness unseen by others. Her thumb, delicate yet firm, slowly traced the line of his jaw, sending shivers down his spine, a trail of fire. You feel the resonance, don't you? The pull. It is the beginning of the trial, and the prelude to a bond that will transcend all others, binding us across time and space. Kaelen's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic rhythm against the quiet hum of the crystalline chamber. Lyra's touch was like a brand, igniting something deep within him he hadn't known existed, a raw, primal longing. His logic screamed for him to pull away, to demand answers, to escape, but his body, traitorously, leaned into her proximity. A bond? He managed, his voice barely audible, a strangled sound. You're talking about mating? He saw the flicker in her obsidian eyes, a spark of something ancient and knowing, a confirmation that thrilled him. Mating, in your limited understanding, is but a fleeting physical act, Lyra corrected, her voice a low, resonant purr that vibrated through his chest, settling deep within his bones. For the Kathari, it is the culmination of the trials, the merging of essences, a joining that transcends mere biological imperative. It weaves two spirits into an inseparable whole, creating a new, stronger entity. It is how we imbue our progeny with strength, not just of body, but of spirit, ensuring the future of our people. Her fingers, still on his jaw, moved lower, tracing the strong line of his neck, her touch surprisingly delicate, yet incredibly possessive. He felt his pulse quicken beneath her touch, a response he couldn't deny. He swallowed hard, his gaze drawn to the intricate, glowing patterns that swirled across her collarbones and down her arms, pulsing with her words, a living tapestry of light. The floral scent, now mingled with a subtle, musky undertone, filled his senses completely, an intoxicating cloud that obliterated all rational thought and clouded his judgment. And what if I refuse this trial? This, Unity? He asked, though the question felt hollow even to his own ears. The heat radiating from her, the sheer force of her presence, was overwhelming, consuming him. Lyra's smile was slow, captivating, spreading across her lips with an ancient wisdom. Refusal is an outcome the Kathari do not often encounter. Human. Not once the resonance has been felt. Not once the summons has been answered, as yours was. Her other hand, surprisingly strong yet gentle, settled on his chest, directly over his pounding heart. Her thumb brushed lightly over his nipple, sending a fresh, potent jolt through him, electrifying his senses. Your heart beats quickly. Is this fear? Or the prelude to acceptance, to the undeniable pull between us? Her body shifted almost imperceptibly, pressing closer, and he became acutely aware of the alluring, powerful curve of her hip against his, a silent invitation. It's called being trapped in a shiny blue box with an alien who thinks I'm her destiny, Kaelen retorted, his voice strained, though a reluctant grin tugged at the corner of his lips. He could feel her soft, warm breath on his face as she leaned in further, her unique facial features, the subtle ridges, the captivating emerald hue, filling his vision, dominating his world. Destiny is shaped by choice. Human, and your choice was made the moment you responded to the call, Lyra countered. Her voice now a husky whisper, laced with ancient ritual, vibrating with profound meaning. Her gaze dropped to his mouth, lingering there with an almost hungry intensity. My people believe that a direct challenge, a claim of worth, is the prelude to unification. You are here. You are strong. The trial has begun. Lyra's proximity was a physical force, pressing Kaelen against the invisible wall of his own resistance. His breath hitched as her hand, still on his chest, splayed its fingers, her thumb now brushing over his nipple, sending a fresh jolt through him, igniting a fire in his veins. The glowing patterns on her emerald skin pulsed erratically, mirroring the sudden wild beat of his own heart, a syncopated rhythm. You are warm, she murmured, her voice a low growl that vibrated through his bones, a deep, resonant sound. Your scent, it is becoming compelling. Is this your species' mating heat? Human, this undeniable surge. Kaelen wanted to protest, to articulate the sheer absurdity of the situation, to regain control, but the words were lost in the intoxicating haze, replaced by a growing need. No, he managed, though his voice was rough, a desperate plea. It's called being trapped in a small space with an alluring alien and no way out. He felt his own body betraying him, responding to her raw, untamed presence with an urgency that both thrilled and unnerved him, a profound awakening. No way out, Lyra echoed, her head tilting, her obsidian eyes fixed on his mouth, filled with a knowing gleam. A truth. When the hunt is fiercest, the claim must be absolute, undeniable. Her free hand, surprisingly strong and fluid, moved with startling speed. It slipped inside his pants, her fingers surprisingly delicate yet firm as they found him, gripping him with startling confidence, an intimate invasion. Kaelen gasped, his back arching against the cool, unseen barrier behind him, a wave of sensation washing over him. His mind reeled, a whirlwind of instinct and confusion. Lyra, we can't. This is insane, he choked out, but the words were useless, swallowed by the primal urgency she was invoking, rendered meaningless. She lowered herself slightly, pressing her pelvis against his, the friction of fabric a cruel tease, heightening the tension. Her hips began to move, a slow, deliberate undulation that matched the rhythm of her humming throat nodes, now a rapid, resonant purr, a song of desire. This is the only way, she whispered, her voice laced with ancient ritual, her eyes locked on his, demanding his surrender. To survive the trial, the male must accept the female's claim. To refuse is to wither, to become obsolete. Then, her mouth was on his, not a tentative exploration, but a furious, demanding press that was both violent and utterly sensual. Her lips, soft yet firm, parted his with a possessive ferocity, her unique pearlescent canines grazing his, a thrilling sharpness. Her tongue, tasting him, demanding his, tangled with his own, a primal, hungry dance that left him breathless. Kaelen's blaster, forgotten, clattered to the floor, a metallic clink drowned by the surge of his blood. His hands, unbidden, found purchase on her waist, digging into the smooth, warm flesh of her hips, gripping her tightly. Her body, pressing harder against his, hips grinding with a rhythmic intensity, stirred him beyond any rational thought, beyond any control. Lyra tore her mouth from his, gasping, her obsidian eyes blazing with an almost savage triumph, reflecting a raw, untamed joy. Mine. The word echoed, not in his ears, but directly in his mind, a direct, telepathic question, a powerful assertion. Before he could fully process it, her grip tightened, and she bit him. A quick, sharp nip on his lower lip, not hard enough to break the skin, but enough to shock him, leaving a stinging sensation. The taste of you, she whispered against his mouth, her tongue flicking out, darting lightly across his lips, savoring the moment. I have claimed you. Now, submit to the ritual. Kaelen's vision swam, his senses overwhelmed by Lyra's intense presence. Her hand, still gripping him, shifted, and he felt the slick heat, the tight, yielding resistance as she guided him with astonishing precision. A gasp tore from her lips as she impaled herself on him, a forceful, primal coupling driven by an instinct far older than conscious thought, beyond human understanding. It wasn't gentle. It was an urgent, demanding act of merging, a violent symphony of bodies, and a raw groan tore from his own throat as she took him, her inner muscles clenching, pulling him deeper into her alien warmth, a profound invasion of his senses. His hips bucked, a desperate, uncontrolled response, and he gripped her waist, his fingers digging into her smooth, warm emerald flesh, anchoring himself to her. Her back arched, head thrown back, violet hair spilling down her shoulders like a dark waterfall against her glowing skin. A soft, continuous moan escaped her, a sound of profound pleasure and raw dominance, a primitive cry. Her unique scent, intensified by their physical exertion, became an all-consuming fog in his senses, a heavy mix of ozone and musk that obliterated all else, leaving him disoriented and aroused. He saw her glowing tattoos pulse faster, their light illuminating the sheen of sweat on her skin, and her legs, long and powerful, wrapped around his hips, pulling him closer, demanding more, demanding everything. Kaelen lost himself in the sensation, the sheer alienness of it, the unexpected force of her desire, the dizzying rush. He thrust into her, hard and fast, driven by a desperate, primal need that surged through him, an instinct he couldn't control. Her cries grew louder, a series of guttural moans that resonated with the humming of her throat nodes, a deep, primal song. He could feel her core clench around him, sensations he'd never experienced before, a new level of physical intimacy. His vision blurred, and he saw her eyes, unfocused, burning with an almost feral joy, a wild triumph. Yes, she gasped, her voice raw. This is completion. This is the truth of the trial. As Kaelen neared his climax, a strange, electric current shot through him, not just physical, but reaching deeper into his mind, binding them, fusing their consciousnesses. Lyra's grip on him tightened, her body seizing around his, convulsing with intense pleasure. He felt a sharp prick, like a bite, on his shoulder, a swift, searing pain, then a rush of heat. Her teeth. She was marking him. A scream, or perhaps a roar, tore from his lungs as he emptied himself inside her, the electric current peaking, an almost telepathic surge binding them, intertwining their very souls. Lyra cried out too, a primal, echoing sound, her body shaking, convulsing around his, sharing his release. Her bioluminescence flared, a brilliant, blinding light that momentarily filled the small chamber, then just as quickly it receded, leaving them gasping, trembling, bound in the raw, powerful aftershocks of their violent, shared climax. She collapsed against him, her head resting on his shoulder, breath ragged, heavy. He could feel the warmth of his blood mingled with hers on his shoulder, a raw, ragged bite mark, his mark, her claiming. The aftermath was a hazy mix of physical exhaustion and bewildered shock, a profound disorientation. Lyra stirred, her head lifting. Her eyes, still wide and dilated, held a new depth, a possessive gleam, an ancient triumph. Her hum was softer now, a contented purr, a gentle vibration against his chest. That, human, was the blood binding, the ritual of claiming. You are now of my clan, my chosen, my own. Kaelen stared at her, dumbfounded. Property? I just bonded with you, and now I'm your property. He pushed gently, sitting up, and noticed the glowing mark on his shoulder. It wasn't just a bite. Intricate patterns, like her own tattoos, were already forming around the wound, pulsing faintly, a permanent sign. What is this, Lyra? Lyra leaned in, her eyes glinting with fierce satisfaction. The mark of the claimed. It glows in the presence of your bonded, and it signifies your acceptance into the Kathari royal line. It is permanent. You will be formally branded by the elders when we return to the spire, a public declaration of our bond. Kaelen ran a hand through his hair, still reeling from the casual revelation. Royal line? Elders? Lyra, are you telling me you're some kind of alien empress? And this whole thing was a test? My ship breaking down, the distress signal, everything? She straightened, a regal stiffness returning to her posture despite her disheveled state. Her voice, though soft, now carried the undeniable weight of generations, a profound authority. I am Lyra, Scion of the Verdant Spire, first daughter of the Kathari Council. And my presence among the outer systems, my seeming vulnerability, it was indeed a trial. A test of the male's devotion and the warrior's spirit, designed to draw out the most worthy. You, Kaelen, have exceeded expectations, proving your mettle. Kaelen stared at her, then a harsh, humorless laugh burst from him, a desperate sound. You're telling me you made yourself appear vulnerable, made yourself seem available, just to see if some dumbass human would respond to your psychic distress signal and then get claimed in a glorious council chamber? My whole life just got turned upside down for a royal recruitment drive? Her chin lifted, a hint of smugness in her emerald eyes, a knowing glint. A necessary trial, human, for my honor and for the future of my people. We choose mates who are tested by fire, for only in trial can true character be seen. And you, Kaelen, burn brightly, an undeniable flame. She shifted, a lithe movement that brought her even closer, a sensual invitation. I simply require a mate for the continuation of my line. You fit the prophecy, you fulfilled the conditions, and you are quite satisfying. He rubbed the glowing mark on his shoulder. It pulsed gently, a constant, undeniable reminder of their bond, a warm, persistent throb. So what? You just pop out a prophecy, I get marked, and now I'm Consort to the Scion. Is that my new job title? Lyra moved with a newfound confidence, her bioluminescence seeming to shimmer with authority, radiating her power. Consort to the Scion, yes. It is a title of power, of respect, and of responsibility. You have earned it. She glanced towards the now fully open chamber entrance, a flicker of concern crossing her features, a hint of urgency. The council approaches. They come to witness the completion of the trial. We must face them as a united front, a bonded pair. Kaelen looked at the glistening walls, then back at the fierce, beautiful alien who now claimed him. He was still a space freighter pilot, or he had been. Now he was a consort to an alien Scion, linked by a violent, profound ritual. Life, he thought, was truly unpredictable, a cosmic joke with a startlingly beautiful punchline. Right? A united front, he muttered, reaching for his discarded blaster, its familiar weight a small comfort. So, how does a consort to the first daughter fight? Do I get a crown, or just a really big gun? Lyra's eyes flashed with amusement, a rare, almost mischievous spark that softened her intensity. You fight as you did, with brutal efficiency, with instinct, with every fiber of your being. And I will fight beside you, as my ancestors did, as one. She reached out her emerald hand, cupping his face, her thumb gently stroking his cheekbone. Her touch was soft, almost tender, a stark contrast to her earlier ferocity, revealing a hidden depth. You are troubled, human. I sense it. She met his gaze, and for a fleeting moment, he saw a raw vulnerability in her obsidian depths, a flicker of genuine connection. My trials have always been solitary, a burden I carried alone. But with you, there is a strength I have not known, a shared weight. She leaned closer, her voice a low murmur, a private confession. Our bond is new, but it is true. I feel it. You feel it too, no? Kaelen felt a reluctant warmth spread through him, a strange comfort in her touch. The logical part of his brain screamed, "Run! Get out of here! This is insane!" But the other part, the part that responded to the raw power of her presence, the part that felt the strange resonance of their bond, yearned to stay, to explore this uncharted territory. Yeah, he admitted, his voice rough, a reluctant confession. Yeah, I feel it. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was Lyra. All of it. Good. She nodded, a subtle shift in her posture, becoming the warrior once more, her regal bearing returning. Then let us show them the might of a bonded pair. Lyra's declaration hung in the air, a challenge and a promise, reverberating through the chamber. The council members, who had remained silent witnesses throughout the entire intimate trial, now stirred. Their collective hum intensified, a deeper resonance that echoed the power Lyra exuded, an acknowledgement of the profound shift. Kaelen felt the subtle shift in their energy, a growing acceptance of his presence, not just as an interloper, but as Lyra's chosen. The mark of the claimed on his shoulder burned with a renewed warmth, affirming their connection, a constant reminder of what had transpired. The consort exhibits a powerful resonance, Scion Lyra. The matriarch's voice resonated in Kaelen's mind, a subtle shift in tone that suggested a grudging respect, an undeniable approval. His spirit accepts the binding. But the final affirmation of the Kathari requires his participation in the great hunt. Only through shared challenge, through the crucible of proving, through conquering adversity together, can true unity be forged before all our kin. etched into the annals of our history. Kaelen's grip tightened on his blaster, the cold metal a familiar reassurance. The Great Hunt? What exactly is that? He interjected, a cold knot forming in his stomach. He'd heard whispers of ancient alien rituals, often involving perilous journeys, monstrous creatures, or trials that ended in dismemberment or worse. His instincts screamed caution. Lyra turned to him, her emerald eyes gleaming with fierce excitement, a light of anticipation. It is the ancient tradition of my people, Consort, a test of skill, cunning, and absolute partnership. We will traverse the perilous crystal labyrinth beneath the spire, facing its guardians and its intricate trials. We will emerge victorious, as one, or we will not emerge at all. Her lips curved into a predatory smile, a flash of pearlescent canines, a promise of both danger and triumph. It is the ultimate demonstration of worth, not just to the Council, but to the very essence of the Kahari, to the ancestors who watch over us. She extended a hand, her long, elegant fingers beckoning him, an invitation he could not refuse. Are you ready, Consort Kaelen, to embrace your new path? To face the hunt and claim your place by my side, not just as bonded, but as a recognized pillar of the Kahari future, a foundation for our rebirth. Kaelen looked at her, at the raw power radiating from her, at the undeniable, intoxicating allure that had drawn him into this impossible situation. His life of scraping by, of desperate salvage runs, of lonely journeys, felt dull and distant, a faded memory. A new kind of thrill, sharp and exhilarating, coursed through his veins, awakening a long-dormant part of him. He had stumbled into a destiny he never sought, a bond he couldn't explain, but in her eyes, he saw a future far more vibrant, more meaningful than any he could have imagined. Ready as I'll ever be, Scion Lyra, he replied, a grin spreading across his face, a genuine smile that reached his eyes for the first time in years. He took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers, feeling the subtle pulse of her bioluminescence against his skin, a connection that hummed with newfound power. Lead the way to this great hunt. Just try not to get us killed on the way to the rest of our lives. It sounds like it's just beginning. Lyra's purr deepened, a sound of profound satisfaction, of triumph. To the hunt, then, Consort. Into a future forged in shared fire, tested by the cosmos, and bound by destiny. She turned, her movements fluid and powerful, pulling him with her towards a newly revealed entrance in the crystalline floor, a swirling vortex of emerald energy that promised both immense danger and unimaginable glory. Hand in hand, a human and a Kahari Scion, they stepped into the unknown, ready to claim their future. Thank you for listening to Alien Whispers. If you enjoyed this tale of primal bonds and cosmic destiny, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video to help us bring more thrilling alien encounters to your ears.